Shabbat Shalom. If you were here last night, or maybe you watched online, you heard us discuss how typically words shared from the Bima, especially Divrei Torah, words of Torah, should not be infused or mixed with politics. Sacred words that exist in a silo. But as we witness the rapidly shifting tide of anti-Semitism, anti-Jewish, anti-moral clarity rhetoric in this country and around the world, I can't help but think that this is about to get political. More than that, it is personal. Let's start with my hometown. By the way, who here is from or lived in New York at any point? Okay, welcome to town. I was born in Brooklyn, raised in Queens, and lived in Manhattan. New York is in my blood. I rode the subways, the buses, attended school, lived a full life in New York City. I stood at the base of the World Trade Center just 17 hours after it collapsed over ash and dead bodies. And I experienced the extraordinary strength of a spirit that New Yorkers demonstrated for what seemed like years afterwards. I lived through the incredibly tense times during the Crown Heights riots when race wars were at an all-time high. I lived through the blackouts, the street fights. I've walked over rats, and yes, even saw a rat dressed in a bow tie. Because that's New York City. The streets were filled with trash. I witnessed things that no human being should ever have to see. And the truth is, it never really bothered me because it was my city. This was New York. It was a place where every person of every race and religion could coexist in ways that city planners only dream of. Jewish, Black, Italian, Irish, Indian, Asian, Haitian, all living in the same apartment or on the same block. Sure, we had our share of political turmoil, mayors who did next to nothing, showed no accountability, mayors who furloughed city workers, almost bankrupted the city, city leadership who mismanaged and misguided the institutions of one of the greatest cities in the world, but never in the history of the city of New York has there ever been an elected official who has openly, publicly, and blatantly shared anti-Jewish sentiments, ever. A few weeks ago, the Democratic Party elected Zoran Mamdani to be the Democratic nominee for mayor, a position he is almost guaranteed to win. So who is Zoran Mamdani? Well, he founded Students for Justice in Palestine at his university, which is a front for the terrorist organization. He's on video chanting, "Free, free Palestine." His intern is seen on video chanting, "Death, death to the IDF," and saying, quote, "I am a martyr. Who is with me?" Mamdani has also released videos mocking Jews. Now, all of that as a New Yorker rattles me, but you know what is most surprising? 20% of eligible Jewish voters gave him their support. 20%. There's a lot of Jews in New York City. This points to a much larger epidemic in our country, one in which emotion replaces logic and arbitrary talking points become substitutes for reason and rational thinking. After all, it's a lot easier to remain ignorant than it is to get yourself educated. And of course, we know it's not just New York that will suffer the consequences of a pro-Palestinian, anti-Jewish mayor. Fly across the Atlantic and land in France, where President Emmanuel Macron said he would follow the International Criminal Court's ruling that Netanyahu would be arrested on war crimes if he ever visited the country. And just yesterday, he called for a Palestinian state. And the truth is, Macron is absolutely right. The Palestinians do deserve a state. Most of them want it, and they had it, but they gave it away to Hamas. And now they are being tortured and oppressed and suppressed by their own leadership. Yesterday, it was confirmed that the Vueling Airlines captain who kicked Jews off his flight helped train the 9/11 hijackers when he was a student instructor 22 years ago. In a post on social media, Spain's Minister of Transportation said this, and I quote, "Will the patriots of Spain stand with Vueling? Will the law and order supporters stand with aviation safety, or will they all stand united behind the Israeli brats?" In France, in England, the Netherlands, Sweden, and developed, sophisticated, advanced nations, we are witnessing the consequences of radical Islam permeating the fabric of once peaceful societies. Did you know that at a major awards show broadcast on international television, one celebrity in front of a receptive audience remarked, "F Zionism"? At Glastonbury, a major music festival with hundreds of thousands of concert goers, one popular musician got the crowd cheering, "Death, death to the IDF, death, death to the IDF." And last week, a group of Jewish campers and their madrich, their counselor, were harassed and physically assaulted at the airport. It has become commonplace and acceptable to vilify Jews, to assault, berate, and accost Jews. And it's happening at a pace we simply cannot catch up to. Has the world forgotten about the Holocaust, the pogroms, the blood libels, October 7th? Or has most of the world used those moments to complete a job they see as unfinished? It's also disconcerting, and many of us, including me, have legitimate questions. How will we explain this to our children? What do we need to do when we travel? Should we hide our Judaism, change our last names, avoid major tourist destinations like Paris or Amsterdam? Do we need to stay in our protective bubble here in Miami? Should we prepare emergency bags in case one day we need to flee? I say all of this not to be an alarmist, but to project feelings that I believe so many of us harbor, and to turn to our Torah for possible answers. In today's Torah portion, Parshat Maaseh, there are many storylines. And one that is almost never talked about and is the particular melody that we use in Parshat Maaseh. You see, usually when we chant Torah, we use cantillation, a trope, a sequential system repeating phrases and notes that make the story come alive. But in Parshat Maaseh, there is a section where we don't use the trope ascribed. Instead, we sing what is known as the traveler's melody, or the journey's melody. It's a special set of trope, of cantillation, that we only use 2 times in the Torah. Once when we read Shirat Hayam, the crossing of the sea, in Parshat Beshalach, recalling arguably the most pivotal moment in our history when we crossed the sea, freeing ourselves from Egyptian oppression and beginning a new journey. And the second time we use that melody is in Parshat Maaseh, at the end of the book of Bamidbar, when we are reminded of our journey. It's almost as if God is calling us, saying, remember what happened and don't forget. If you become complacent, it will happen again. This is your journey I sent you on. Regain control or it will be gone. Each verse begins with that melody and begins with the word vayisu, meaning they set out from. We are told that the people of Israel are in perpetual motion. They set off on a journey from this place, from this place, from this place. Vayisu, and they set out. As the Jewish people, we have been forced to set out, to leave the land we knew. In every generation except for mine, we have been forced to set out. My grandparents from Syria to Mexico, my wife's grandparents from Turkey to Cuba to the United States. We all have a story. And now, for the first time in my lifetime, the fear that it will happen again is all too real. God is calling us to revisit the words and teachings of Parshat Maaseh. Don't leave me now, stay true to yourselves. Fight for what is right and always be hopeful. Maybe this parsha is reminding us that we must revisit our journey to protect it at all costs so that when we do set out, it is of our own free will and intention and not because we've allowed others to push us out. Yai dai 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 dai, lai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai. May we be blessed with peace and love, fighting for freedom at every turn. Shabbat Shalom.